In ancient Egypt, a story was told of Osiris. He was the central figure in a faith that shaped one of the world's greatest civilizations. Osiris was the god of fertility and agriculture. He was the lord of the afterlife, offering a path to eternity. The symbolism surrounding Osiris is as deep and layered as the history of Egypt itself. His cult spread across Egypt, enduring for thousands of years. To understand Osiris is to understand the heart of ancient Egypt. Let us travel back to the banks of the Nile thousands of years ago. The air is thick with the scent of wet earth and lotus blossoms. Great stone temples rise towards a brilliant blue sky. Here, amidst the grandeur and the dust, our story begins with a pantheon of gods. Osiris, destined for greatness, had a sister, Isis, who became his devoted wife. But divinity is not without its shadows. They had two other siblings, Set, a figure of chaos, and Nephthys. This divine family formed the core of a story that would define the struggle between order and chaos for all time. The story of Osiris was more than just a religious text, it was a living history. In this land of myth and monument, the stage was set for a divine drama with Osiris at its center. Osiris, depicted with otherworldly calm, often had green or black skin, symbolizing life and regeneration. He embodied rebirth, a reminder that new life could spring forth from death itself. Osiris wore the Atef crown, proclaiming his authority over the realm of the dead. Osiris embodied the cyclical nature of existence. His story mirrored the Nile's cycle. Death, mourning, and triumphant resurrection, a constant presence in a land of renewal. In the beginning, Geb, the earth god, and Nut, the sky goddess, united. From their union, Osiris emerged, destined to rule. Then came Isis, whose wisdom and magic were unmatched. Osiris and Isis, the ideal divine couple. But darkness stirred with Set, god of chaos, and Nephthys, linked to shadows. This quartet set the stage for a cosmic drama, the foundational story of Egypt explaining their existence. Osiris and Isis inherited the world and began a reign of peace and progress. Osiris, a teacher, brought civilization to humanity. He taught agriculture while Isis was his equal partner. But this golden age was not destined to last. Set, Osiris's brother, envied his reign. He coveted Osiris's fertile kingdom. Jealousy festered, twisting into murderous ambition. Set represented the threat of darkness. This set the stage for tragedy. The worship of Osiris is ancient, reaching back into the Nile Valley's unrecorded history. Archaeological evidence emerges during Egypt's Old Kingdom in the pyramid texts from the 5th dynasty. These texts present Osiris as the primary deity of the afterlife. As Egyptian civilization evolved, so did Osiris, absorbing roles of older deities. Ultimately, Osiris's story lay in its profound personal and universal appeal, offering a powerful promise of justice, order, and rebirth. Osiris provided a divine blueprint for salvation, establishing himself as the eternal king of the afterlife. To gaze upon an image of Osiris is to look at a figure of profound symbolism. His depiction is recognizable, designed to convey his unique nature as a king who has transcended death. He is shown in the white linen wrappings of a mummy, signifying his connection to funerary rites. The wrappings allude to the promise of resurrection. Only his head and hands emerge, elements that reveal his royal authority. Further distinguishing him is the Atef crown, a composite symbol of supreme power. The entire crown proclaims him as the rightful ruler of the afterlife. The combination creates a powerful icon, telling a story of a king who rose to become a greater power. Osiris holds the crook and flail, essential regalia, not weapons, but tools of leadership. The crook, or heka, was used to guide and protect the flock. As an emblem, it represents Osiris as the shepherd of souls. The flail, or nekaka, symbolizes Osiris's role in final judgment. Together, the crook and flail became the symbol of pharaonic power. These emblems are crucial to understanding how the Egyptians perceived Osiris. The crook and flail communicated that the realm of the dead was a structured kingdom. Osiris presented himself as the ultimate guarantor of cosmic balance, a king ruling for eternity. Osiris's green or black skin wasn't morbid but signified life. Green represented new growth and vegetation. Black symbolized the fertile silt from the Nile's floods, the source of Egypt's wealth. It represented the darkness from which life emerges. Osiris, a dead god and source of life, mirrored Egypt's story. The land's death in summer and rebirth with the Nile's flood. Osiris's image was a prayer, a map and a symbol of hope, guaranteeing a new beginning from every ending. Osiris's reign was a beacon, but his brother Set's jealousy festered. Set craved the throne and plotted, choosing deceit over combat. He announced a magnificent feast to cloak his murderous intent. The festivities were unparalleled, with music and food. Set unveiled a beautiful sarcophagus as a prize for whoever it fit perfectly. Guests took turns, but none fit. Then Osiris lay down. It was a perfect fit. Set slammed the lid shut, sealing Osiris alive in a gilded trap. Set's betrayal was swift and merciless. He sealed Osiris in a chest and cast it into the Nile, erasing his brother from Egypt and seizing the throne. Set's rule brought chaos and tyranny, shattering the harmony Osiris had established. News of the betrayal devastated Isis, but her grief became determination. She shed her royal status, donned widow's robes, and began a relentless quest to find Osiris's body. Without a proper burial, Osiris's spirit would never find peace. Isis's journey was one of hardship and resolve, searching the Nile's length for any trace of her husband. She questioned everyone, children, fishermen, even the spirits of the wind. But the trail was cold. Yet Isis's love and magic never faltered. Her quest was not just for love, but for the restoration of cosmic order. She would not rest until she recovered Osiris from his watery grave. Guided by whispers and fate, Isis found Osiris's chest encased in a tamarisk tree in Abydos, now a palace pillar. Disguised, she entered the court, won the queen's trust, and revealed her divine identity. Granted the pillar, Isis reclaimed Osiris's body and returned to Egypt, hiding it in the Nile Delta. But Set discovered the chest, tore Osiris's body into 14 pieces, and scattered them across Egypt. This act of desecration seemed to doom Osiris forever. Isis's quest became even more daunting. The hope of restoring Osiris and order now depended on finding every lost piece. Her journey was far from over. Isis, joined by Nephthys, searched Egypt for Osiris's scattered remains, transforming into birds to scour the land. They recovered 13 pieces. The final, lost to the Nile, was replaced by Isis's magic. With Anubis's help, they reassembled and mummified Osiris, creating the first rite of Egyptian burial. Isis performed her greatest magic, reviving Osiris for a brief, miraculous reunion. From this union, Horus was conceived, an heir destined to challenge Set. Osiris, now king of the underworld, became judge of the dead, offering eternal life to the righteous. His farewell to Isis marked a transformation, not an end. Osiris's revival thwarted Set's plan and ensured the cycle of rebirth. The myth's heart, love, loss, and the promise of justice, the legacy of Osiris, would shape Egypt forever. Isis hid with Horus in the Nile marshes, protecting him from Set's wrath. With help from Thoth and Nephthys, Horus grew strong, destined to avenge his father. When grown, Horus challenged Set, sparking a legendary struggle between order and chaos. Their battles shook the world, man, beast, and even as hippopotami in the Nile. Set once tore out Horus's eye, but Thoth restored it, creating the Eye of Horus, a symbol of healing and protection. After 80 years, the gods ruled for Horus. Set was exiled or bound to serve Ra. Horus united Egypt, restoring Maat, the divine order. Every pharaoh became Horus incarnate, continuing the eternal cycle of justice and rebirth. Osiris's worship spread across Egypt, but Abydos and Thonis Heracleion were his most sacred centers. Abydos, believed to hold Osiris's head, became the premier pilgrimage site for those seeking his favor. Thonis Heracleion hosted grand rituals reenacting Osiris's myth, linking the god to the Nile and Egypt's prosperity. Local temples claimed relics of Osiris, making his worship both national and deeply personal. Pilgrims from all walks of life left offerings at Abydos, hoping for resurrection and peace in the afterlife. The cult's decentralized nature united Egypt in devotion. Osiris's story became the spiritual backbone of the nation. The cemeteries of Abydos stand as silent witnesses to the hope for eternal life with the merciful king of the dead. The rituals dedicated to Osiris were deeply symbolic, focused on the powerful themes of fertility, death, and regeneration. One of the most fascinating and tangible of these rites was the creation of Osiris beds. These were shallow, brick-lined beds shaped in the silhouette of the god Osiris. They were filled with fertile soil from the Nile and then sown with grain, typically barley or emmer wheat. The bed would be kept moist, and as the seeds germinated and sprouted, the green shoots would grow to fill the god's outline. This created a living effigy, a powerful visual representation of Osiris's resurrection from the dead, mirroring the way crops sprouted from the dark earth each year. These Osiris beds were not mere decorations. They were potent magical objects used in both temple rituals and funerary contexts. A famous example was discovered within the tomb of the boy king Tutankhamun. Placed there to aid the pharaoh in his own rebirth, it served as a divine guarantee that just as the grain sprouted from the effigy of Osiris, so too would Tutankhamun rise again in the afterlife. This practice vividly illustrates the intimate connection between agriculture and the Egyptian concept of eternal life. The cycle of the seed, sown, buried and sprouting anew, was the perfect metaphor for the human soul's journey, a promise of life emerging from the stillness of death. Beyond the Osiris beds, more esoteric rites took place within the secrecy of temple walls. Priests would perform complex daily rituals to honor the god. One such ceremony involved the ceremonial pouring of water from the Nile into a golden coffer, symbolizing the life-giving tears of Isis or the floodwaters that revived the land. This act was accompanied by chants and prayers celebrating the moment of Osiris's reawakening. In other rituals, priests would craft sacred models from a mixture of wheat paste, soil, and spices. These models often represented the 14 parts of Osiris's dismembered body, which were then ceremonially buried or distributed to other cult centers, reinforcing the nationwide story of his reconstruction. In the temple at Mendes, a city in the Delta, this practice reached a particular height of reverence. Here, the effigies of Osiris were made from wheat and paste, wrapped in linen like a mummy, and then ritually buried in the temple grounds. The grain used for these figures was considered sacred and could only be grown in the temple's own fields, further sanctifying the entire process. These secret priestly rites were the theological engine of the Osirian faith. They were complex, magical acts designed to ensure the god's continuous resurrection, which in turn guaranteed the renewal of the land, the rising of the Nile, and the continuation of cosmic order for all of Egypt. The most significant public celebration of Osiris was the great annual festival held at Abydos, his principal cult center. This was not just a day of worship, but a multi-day, elaborate public spectacle that functioned as a national passion play. The entire myth of Osiris's death and resurrection was reenacted in a series of dramatic processions and mock battles. Our most detailed account of this festival comes from the Ikonofret Stela, a monument left by a high official who was tasked with organizing the event. This stela outlines a 5-day program that allowed the public to participate directly in the god's divine story. The festival began with the procession of Wepwawet, where a statue of the jackal god was carried out of the temple. This procession included a mock battle, where actors playing Osiris's followers would fight and defeat his enemies. This opening act symbolized the struggle to protect Osiris and clear the path for his funerary journey. It drew the entire community into the unfolding drama and set the stage for the solemn events to follow. The second and third days were the emotional heart of the festival. A great procession took place where the effigy of the dead Osiris was placed within his sacred bark and transported from his temple to his tomb. This journey reenacted the search for his body by Isis and the funeral procession itself. The entire population would participate in this act of mourning, wailing and lamenting as if for their own lost king. The third day saw the destruction of the enemies of Osiris, mock battles that symbolized the defeat of Set, ensuring the god could be laid to rest without threat. The climax unfolded on the fourth and fifth days. After a night vigil filled with prayers and secret rites, the great miracle occurred. At dawn on the final day, it was announced that Osiris is reborn. The statue of the resurrected god was brought forth to the joyous shouts of the crowd. He was then carried back to his temple, where he was reinstalled to his throne. This offered every participant hope and renewal, allowing them to witness the victory of life over death. Having navigated the Duat, the soul arrived at the Hall of Two Truths. Here they faced final judgment, presided over by Osiris and 42 gods. The soul's first act was the negative confession, a declaration of innocence. Then came the weighing of the heart. The heart was placed on a scale against the feather of Maat. Anubis attended the scales. Thoth recorded the verdict. A light heart meant entry to Osiris's kingdom. A heavy heart was devoured by Amit. For the guilty, their fate was utter annihilation. Amit would devour their heart, condemning them to the second death. Their consciousness erased forever, oblivion was the most dreadful fate. The righteous entered the field of reeds Aru, an idealized Egypt, a land of eternal springtime, a continuation of the best aspects of mortal life, perfected and eternal. Osiris was the ultimate guarantor of cosmic justice. The story of Osiris was so powerful that it did not end with the decline of pharaonic Egypt. When Alexander the Great conquered the land, he ushered in a new era, the Ptolemaic period. Greek culture began to merge with ancient Egyptian traditions, creating a vibrant hybrid civilization. The new Greek rulers, led by Ptolemy I, sought a deity that could unite both their Egyptian subjects and the growing Greek population. They needed a god that both cultures could recognize and revere. From this political and cultural necessity, a new god was born, or rather reborn. His name was Serapis, and he was a fascinating fusion of the familiar Osiris and several Greek deities. Serapis combined the most potent aspects of Osiris with those of other gods. He held Osiris's role as a ruler of the afterlife and a god of fertility. But he was also blended with Apis, the sacred bull of Memphis, who was himself seen as an incarnation of Osiris. This created the name Osiris Apis, which was likely Hellenized into Serapis. To this Egyptian foundation, Greek characteristics were added. He took on attributes of Hades, the Greek lord of the underworld, Dionysus, the god of wine and ecstasy, and even Zeus, the king of the gods. This syncretism was a masterful act of religious engineering, creating a deity who looked Greek but felt Egyptian at his core. Visually, Serapis was a departure from the mummified form of Osiris. He was depicted as a handsome, bearded Greek man, often seated on a throne resembling statues of Zeus or Hades. He wore a Greek-style tunic and carried a scepter, but he had a unique emblem on his head, the modius, a grain measure basket. This symbol cleverly linked him to both the agricultural abundance of Osiris and the wealth of Alexandria, the new capital city. He was often shown with Cerberus, the three-headed dog of the Greek underworld, at his feet. Serapis became the official patron god of Alexandria and the Ptolemaic dynasty, a symbol of their new unified kingdom. The cult of Serapis became immensely popular, not just in Egypt, but across the entire Roman Empire. Grand temples called Serapeums were built in his honor, the most magnificent of which was in Alexandria. This temple housed a great library, a successor to the legendary Library of Alexandria. While Serapis was a new creation, he did not replace Osiris entirely. Instead, he coexisted with the more traditional Egyptian forms of worship. For the Greeks and Romans, he was a familiar gateway into the mysteries of Egypt. For the Egyptians, he was another facet of their eternal god of resurrection, a new name for an ancient and beloved power that continued to offer hope in a changing world. Even as the cult of Serapis spread across the Mediterranean, the traditional worship of Osiris and his beloved wife Isis continued with incredible tenacity in Egypt itself. The Romans, who took control of Egypt after the Ptolemies, were generally tolerant of local religions, and the cult of Isis and Osiris flourished under their rule. Their story of love, loss and resurrection held a universal appeal that transcended cultural boundaries, captivating Roman citizens who sought a more personal and emotional connection to the divine. The worship of Isis in particular spread as a popular mystery religion from the shores of Britain to the frontiers of Asia Minor, carrying the name of her husband Osiris with her. The heart of this enduring faith was found on the beautiful island of Philae, near Aswan in southern Egypt. The temple of Isis at Philae became the last great bastion of ancient Egyptian religion. As Christianity swept across the Roman Empire and was declared the official state religion, the old pagan temples were ordered to be closed. One by one, the great sanctuaries at Karnak, Luxor, and Dendera fell silent, their ancient rituals ceasing for the first time in millennia. But the temple at Philae held on, a defiant island of tradition in a sea of change. The local Nubian tribes, who had long revered the gods of Philae, ensured its survival. For more than a century after the official decrees, the priests at Philae continued to perform the daily rites. They made offerings to Isis and Osiris, inscribed hieroglyphs on the temple walls, and celebrated the ancient festivals. The last known hieroglyphic inscription in the world, dated to 394 AD, was carved at Philae. The last known demotic script graffiti, a prayer to Isis, was inscribed there as late as 452 AD. These final etchings in stone are a poignant testament to the devotion of the last followers, a final echo of a faith that had shaped civilization for thousands of years, refusing to fade quietly into the night. The end finally came in the 6th century AD, under the reign of the Byzantine Emperor Justinian I. Around 537 AD, his soldiers were dispatched to Philae to enforce the closure of the temple. The priests were removed, the statues of the gods were taken to Constantinople, and the temple halls were converted into a Christian church. With this act, the last official flame of ancient Egyptian worship was extinguished. The story of Osiris, which had begun in the mists of prehistory, had reached its final chapter. Yet his legacy would not be forgotten. It lay dormant in the sands, waiting in the texts and on the temple walls, ready to be rediscovered and to captivate the world once more. The story of Osiris is more than just a myth. From his benevolent rule to his tragic murder and miraculous rebirth, his journey encapsulates an eternal cycle of life, death, and renewal. He offered a vision of the afterlife that was not one of terrifying punishment, but of justice and eventual peace. The legacy of Osiris can be seen carved into the very stone of Egypt. His story provided the blueprint for mummification and the elaborate journey to the afterlife. The tale of a just God who suffers, dies, and triumphs over death is a powerful motif that has echoed throughout human history. He represents a fundamental human yearning for justice to prevail and for life to ultimately conquer death. His story is a timeless testament to the resilience of hope in the face of mortality. While we have deciphered the hieroglyphs and excavated the tombs, a profound sense of mystery still surrounds Osiris. We can read the stories and marvel at the art, but can we ever truly grasp the depth of faith he inspired? The true nature of the mysteries of Osiris remain largely hidden from us, lost to the shifting sands of time. The rediscovery of ancient Egypt brought Osiris back into the light, captivating a new global audience. His iconic image and his role as the king of the dead have become staples of modern popular culture. They are a testament to the enduring power of his story to capture the human imagination. The story of Osiris also serves as a powerful reminder of the cyclical nature of history itself. The search for his scattered body by Isis mirrors the work of modern Egyptologists to reconstruct a lost world. He is the king of a realm we all must one day face, a symbol of the ultimate transition. The tale of Osiris is a grand, beautiful, and sometimes terrifying story, and a timeless archetype of hope.